In searching YouTube, I found that this guy asked over 1,800 producers what their favorite snare drum was. I'm going to show you how to recreate that snare drum next on Music Surgery with me, Dr. Bob. Hey you guys, quickly before we get started, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. And don't forget to check out the Doctor's Lounge, my store, and the links to some great samples below in the description of this video. We all have our list of favorite snare drums. ACDC, Metallica Black Album, Stuart Copeland, Jeff Porcaro, and of course John Bonham, to name a few. But this one topped the list, so let's recreate the Paramore Riot David Bendeth and Dan Korneff snare. Watch this. All right, you guys, fun stuff this week. We all have our favorite snares, our favorite snare list. This is definitely one of mine. So the snare on the Riot album, there are actually two snares. One was this snare, which was a Vinnie Paul pearl snare. I believe it was 8x14. And interestingly enough, David Bendeth saw it in a pawn shop one day. And he saw the snare and thought, oh, that could be interesting, and asked the guy, what do you want for this? The guy said $150. They took it back to the studio, and the rest is history. Now, there's two things. The rest of the album, this was the song on Misery Business. I mean, this was the snare on Misery Business and other songs. There was also a pork pie snare used on the record. But we're going to focus on this snare sound today. Also, two things that are hard to, that can't be overstated enough are, one, you've got an amazing drummer smacking the crap out of the drum in an amazing studio with amazing gear and amazing mixers and engineers. Also, they had an SPX 90 that they also ran it through, and I've really not found a suitable plug-in for SPX 90. And also, we're not going to try to get this exact. What's the point of getting an exact duplicate? That's just YouTube comparison, means nothing. So what we try to do is we try to capture the essence of this snare. So many people have sampled the snare off the beginning of the record and used that, and that's just lame. That's plagiarism. It's lame. Make your own thing up. Borrow from them and use that as a great tool to learn from. How do they get that sound? And I want to get that sound. But to steal it, I mean, technically, that snare sample belongs to Atlantic Records anyway, or Fueled by Ramen. Anyway, so I want to show you. So I did take the snare off of the front of the record so you can hear it. That's the snare off the front of the record. It's all by itself. And now we have three tools that I'm using, three sample tools and some other things I'm going to show you to where I think I got the essence of it really well. And I would be happy to use this in a song instead of steal in a lame fashion and not be creative. So here's theirs. And here's the one I've come up with. Totally gets the essence of what we're talking about. The first snare, this is from the Slate drum pack, and it's from the Bendeth pack, and it's the Vinnie Paul snare. And I've tuned it up some, but here it is. And I've also slammed it through the David Bendeth bus compressor, which I used the beefy snare. So that's the first one. I've also added quite a bit of mid and top, and even some more in the lower range of the fundamental of this snare. Now I can take all this off, and here is the sample by itself. And with the EQ, and with the compressor, and with the other EQ. So there is snare one. You have to have the Slate sampler, and then the David Bendeth pack is an add-on pack, but fantastic. Incredible kick drums, some really unique one-headed toms, and some great Sabian cymbals. There's snare one. So that one is this. Now we go to snare two, which is also in the David Bendeth pack, and it is the Jeff Ochiltree snare. Now it's down in the mix of my 3. I can bring that up so you can hear it better. Now I've also got, and that snare I believe was a, I think that's a Zildjian or that's a Paiste cymbal alloy snare. It's made of Paiste cymbal stuff. So just cranked. Now I've also got it through the same compressor, some distortion, some tape distortion by Saturn, the SPL attack, and a little bit of gate to stop that ring afterwards. So here's with all of that off. Which to me actually sounds better by itself. But for the sake of adding snares together to make one sound, that was better. Now also we have a Dan Korneff snare, which is called, or did I have that? 20 minus 7. This one's called Back to School. And these are Dan Korneff samples. And that snare sounds like this. Which is just a beautiful snare. I've also got some room in it. I can turn that down. And so that's. I think you can go to Basic Drum Company and get this. Fantastic. It's also got fantastic kick and snare and cymbals, but we're just focusing on snare today. Now, also, all of these snares are going through this Glow reverb, which is the non-linear mode of like an AMS, which was very important to their sound as well. So let me turn that off. And back on. Let me exaggerate this so you can tell what it's doing. So it's a very quick bop. Their snare is tuned. Their fundamental is a little bit different, which if I wanted to get closer, I could certainly tune my snare to their fundamental as well. So there you see, we're very close, but not exact. Like I said, what's the point in exact? But taking the essence of things that we're inspired by, a delay, a snare sound, a reverb trick. We don't need to get them exact, but if we can understand what it is about the sound and how we can get something close to that to put into our art and be inspired by that is a great, great thing. And there you go. The most popular and the most favorite snare ever recorded. And we got it with 3 samples, some plugins, and that's about it. And a reverb. Glow AMS. So there you go. Like I mentioned, recreating it perfectly is pointless. But taking the essence of a snare this awesome and putting it into your track can really, really make a difference. Listen to anything by David Bendeth and Dan Korneff for some serious next level production and mixing education. Thanks as always for watching. Give me some comment love and a thumbs up below, and hit me at drbobmusicsurgery@gmail.com if you want to say hello or you want me to work on your music. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you the next time the doctor's in.